I'm Mike Catalizzi, the Executive Vice President of the American Supply Association. You are signed up for the ASA CEO Summer Webinar Series, the fourth session, How are we driving change with Dirk Beveridge. As a reminder, Dirk will be presenting two sessions at Network ASA, September 9th through the 11th in Las Vegas. We have already exceeded all expectations, and while we're at a current sellout situation at the Bellagio, if you haven't yet registered, please call us today so we can make sure we get you guys into the hotel. We have another expanded and exciting program planned in Vegas, and again, we have some great speakers. Along with Dirk Beveridge, we have former Navy SEAL Team 6 member Dan O'Neill will highlight the plumbing breakfast. Regis Philbin, along with a surprise guest, will keynote the Wellben IPD breakfast, and Jimmy Johnson, legendary football coach and announcer, will wrap things up during our Future Trends Luncheon. I'd like to call your attention to ASA Supplier Partners. It's through their kind support of our organization that we've been able to put on programs such as this at no cost to our members. During today's webinar session, your mic will be muted. However, you'll be able to send us questions for Dirk during his presentation. You'll see on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll be able to type in the question, send it to us. Once we receive those, we will then read them to Dirk. Okay, let's get started. Today's presenter is Dirk Beveridge, president of Fourth Generation Systems and founder of Unleashed WD. Dirk is an author of 3 books, and his 4th book, due out next month, is entitled Innovate: How Successful Distributors Lead Change in Disruptive Times, a book he wrote for the National Association of Wholesalers. It should be out, hopefully, in time for Network ASA. This afternoon's session, How Are We Driving Change, will focus on how today's business environment demands CEOs to focus on the future more than ever. Many ASA executive leaders find themselves trapped in the tyranny of the urgent. Businesses report a gravitational pull to the status quo, which leads to a lack of differentiation and vulnerability to competition, traditional and non-traditional alike. Dirk will introduce the disruptive wheel of change, along with a guest panelist who are leading their businesses into the future by driving change on their journey of becoming the innovative distributor. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Dirk Beveridge. Dirk?
Hey, Michael, thanks for having us. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled to be joining you at a convention in Las Vegas. You know, your commitment and ASA's commitment and your members' commitment to really become the best trained, best educated, and most professional in the industry, I got to tell you, Mike, it's inspiring, and again, I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thanks for sharing with everybody about the book that's coming out. I got to tell you, this has been a labor of love for the last 18 months. I've had the opportunity to talk to CEOs, owners, presidents, C-suite, VPs of distributors of all sizes. And I really believe, Mike, that it's imperative that we begin to drive a new spirit of innovation throughout distribution. Let me just share with you some of the statistics that came out of some of the surveying that we did for this book. What we learned is that 76% of distributors that we surveyed believe that we are living in an environment in which we could call the age of disruption. Change is coming at us faster than ever before, they're telling us. 85% of distributor leadership surveyed tell us that they feel that they need to reinvent their business before someone else does. Again, we feel the need for change. 81%, look at this, might tell us that they believe that much of the distribution industry is operating from dated business models. And 72% of distribution CEOs tell us that they believe that the pace of change is too slow in their business. So those are some statistics that came out of our research. But if we really look at it, what is driving those numbers? What are the trends, if you will, that are driving those numbers? So, Mike, one of the things that we found in the research for this book is what we call the disruptive reality that we are all facing in distribution today. Over on the left, you see a series of disruptive trends. And over on the right, the disruptive reality that those trends are causing. Let me just try to walk us through that very quickly. You see, over on the left, one of the disruptive trends at 11 o'clock is what we see to be the disruption of the generational changes. We know that there are going to be 5 different generations of individuals in the workforce by 2020. Millennials are quickly replacing the boomers in the business, and that's driving a different mindset from both a leadership, a management, and importantly, from what our customers expect from us, because those millennials are becoming our customers today also. Now, if you jump over to 11 o'clock on the disruptive reality, what that's causing is this clash between the generations in the business. There might be these millennials who are saying, you know what, we're looking at the world differently. We're looking at how business needs to be done differently. And we think there's an opportunity for change and transformation and innovation. Yet there's others in our business that has been saying, you know what we have done has worked so well, let's keep it up. So there's this gravitational pull back to safety, back to the way things are. That leads to, over on the left side again, the green, the non-differentiated businesses. As we talk to CEOs and distributors, Mike, what we're continually hearing is that we have found we're waking up and we're asking ourselves, are we really differentiated? Do we really have a compelling value proposition that sets us apart from everybody else? That drives over on the right-hand side the goal, the realization, this inherent inertia that says that we're trapped in the world of sameness. And we need to find ways to break through that. Then if you look down to the bottom right, on the left-hand side, the shifting business models and disruptive technology. This disruptive trend in terms of the different methods, because of technology and other changes, the different methodologies of creating and then delivering and capturing value is out there. Yet, if you look at the purple on the right-hand side, we've got this infrastructure that's built for yesterday. Why invest in e-commerce if we have our brick and mortar branches? Why invest in e-commerce if I, as an owner right now, don't use mobile to interact? Why look at e-commerce? Again, I'm just talking about e-commerce as one example, when our current customers, boomers like me, don't want to go online. So we've got this infrastructure that's built for yesterday that continues to pull us back to the status quo. And then the disruptive trend of new competition. Amazon supply, others, we could talk about it. But then we've got this legacy thinking that continues to draw us back. Mike, before we started today, yesterday, I went out to Twitter, and I went out and I asked individuals in the Twitter world, I said that we're going to be leading this conversation about about change, who's driving change. So I asked a simple question, why change? And here's what Anna Wells, the editor for Industrial Distribution, she tweeted back to me, why change? Because of consolidation, 3D printing, e-commerce, disintermediation, millennials. She tells us the world is changing around us. We have no choice. I personally agree with Anna. The good news in all this, Mike, is that 95% of those individuals we surveyed for our book, Innovate, 95% of those in a leadership position in distribution today feel personally empowered to be a disruptive change agent in their business. And that's what the next 50 minutes is all about, being personally empowered to be that disruptive change agent so that we can compete in this new world, this new normal that we're all finding ourselves in. To help us in this conversation, Mike, I'd love to introduce your members to a gentleman who I have the utmost respect for. Will Parsley is with us. Will, you're with us. Are you not? Welcome, buddy. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Dirk. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So that everybody knows, Will is the manager of business development for a great distributor out of Winston-Salem by the name of Carswell Distributing. He is third generation. He's part of the executive team. Since he's been on board with the organization, he's been focused on how do we remain relevant as an organization? What are the product life cycles that we go through, and how do we continue to remain relevant to develop new business? He is the business unit manager for their 3PL services and their Tidewater divisions, and it's very exciting because Will is really spearheading the innovation journey and the change management that they started just about 2 years ago. So Will, again, thank you for being here. And would you mind just sharing with us, Will, a little bit about Carswell, just so that the listeners can have a little bit of context?
So yes, absolutely, Dirk. It'd be my pleasure. So our business is a lawn and garden wholesale distribution business primarily. We serve 4,000 to 5,000 very fragmented lawn and garden shops. So we sell them everything from equipment to replacement parts, string trimmers, blowers, commercial mowers, and the interesting thing about the industry is that most lawn and garden shops, independent lawn and garden shops, have one location. So it's a very fragmented customer base. We're a family business, started in 1948 by my grandfather, and many of our customers are just like us, second and third generation family businesses. And so it's a business that doesn't have relies still a lot on relationships and is definitely not on the cutting edge of technology. But that's part of what makes us look so hard at change is when you're not on the cutting edge of technology, you wonder when it's going to sweep its way in.
You bet, you bet. So, and I think the ASA members on board here can relate to the business that you've got there, and I really appreciate that, Will. So, Will, you started the business. You didn't start the business, but your grandfather in 1948 started the business, and you and the management team have grown this business to become about a $50 million business. You're stable. You've got loyal customers that you've served for years. Why change? Why think about change? What's going through your mind and the organization's mind as to why you feel this mandate to, relook at your business operations and your business model, if you don't mind?
Absolutely, Dirk. I think there's two big things that we focus on when we think about change and innovation. And one of the things that we focus on, we really are concerned with this idea of relevance and how do we remain relevant to our customers and how do we have the right products, the right services for them. I was thinking about this sort of idea of how what's the life cycle of our business, what's the life cycle of our relevance, and sometimes we sort of joke that we have, our business has 45 days of contractual relevance because just about all of our suppliers have between 30 and 60 days that it takes for them to cancel us.
Yep.
We really try to focus on how are we staying ahead of just being structurally significant, but how are we really being significant in creating value for our customers. When I look at the speed of change and all the things that you talked about, I think back about when we first started contemplating the idea of online ordering for our customers 15 years ago, our thought around that was, well, we want to talk to our customers. We have these wonderful old relationships with our customers, and they're people that we know, and we don't want them to just have sort of a digital experience with us. We want them to have a personal experience with us. So we were resistant to the idea of putting technology between us and our customers. And then when we finally kind of came around to the idea that this wasn't just about serving the early adopters, it was about more customers coming to want this. We were pretty resistant to the investment required to do it. It just seemed like it was expensive and the return on investment wasn't really there. It took us about 3 years to get through that cycle of finally saying, well, we're going to have to do it even if the dollars don't seem to make sense. And then it took us another 3 years to really get the system that we worked on, the shopping cart and everything, functioning the way that our customers wanted it to. So, 10, 12 years ago, we spent 6 years getting online ordering up for our customers.
Right.
And I figure now we'd have about 6 months to pull some sort of change like that off. If there was a shift in the industry that required a new method of serving customers, if our customers suddenly said, you know what, this Amazon app that I use to buy toothpaste and toothbrushes and all the other stuff at my house, you know, I think I'd like to use that to buy lawnmower parts. I mean, I figure we'd have 6 months to pull that off, not 6 years. So we're really interested in that concept, and I think the place where we so often lose track of change, and these statistics just don't, you know, come home for us is, you know, we go out and we travel around and we see our customers. We try to stay close to them, but we think of them only as sort of our customers in their stores behaving the way that they do in their stores today.
Yep.
We sort of create those linkages between what they do when they go home and when they start using different technologies, when they start having different service experiences with people outside of their business and outside of us.
Yep.
Those experiences are so quickly being linked.
Transferred.
Yeah, and the technology that you use now at work is the same technology that you use at home. So it's such a different atmosphere than it was 10 or 15 years ago when sort of work technology was at work and your home was at home.
You know, Will, to that point, one of the statistics that I see about business to business, business taking place right now is that, you know, one of the trends is that customers are cutting suppliers out of their learning, right? As a distributor, man, it was great when if one of your dealers or one of the customers needed information about the product, right? They were locked into you. They had to come to you to learn about it. Well, today, to your point, they're using the technology that was used in the business consumer environment, right, to go online, and they're typically 57% of the way through the purchase process before they contact suppliers. So the data supports exactly what you're saying.
Absolutely, and I think when you know, one of the things that's been funny for us when we look at our customers or daunting is, and I think for a lot of wholesalers, there's the earlier you were talking about generational change and trends, and I think a lot of us in wholesale distribution industries, many of which are kind of viewed as stodgy, we do look around and say, gosh, when is the next generation going to be coming in? I mean, we certainly look at our customers and say, you know, our customers are getting a lot older. I wonder when that next generation is coming in. And possibly, you know, we've been lucky that they haven't come any faster than they have. Because I don't know that we have the technology to serve them when they get here.
Right.
They're not going to ask for the same methods of purchasing and the same methods of interaction that their parents did.
And I know, absolutely, and I know that you guys are thinking hard about that, you know, at Carswell, what those generational changes are going to demand in terms of how they're going to transact business. I think one of the realizations that you all came to is that knowing that this we live in this age of disruption, as you're talking about, the generational changes, the apps, the e-com, whatever that happens to be, I think that you came to the conclusion that there was need to inject new ideas and new thinking into your business, and you're starting with the management team, yourself and the 4 others that really lead that organization. Is that right, Will?
That's right. Yeah, I think the sort of constant quest for new ideas for the business and new products and even, you know, ways that we can take those new ideas and experiment with them to validate them in a quick way is really important to us. And I think you know, we spend a lot of time looking at industries around us, industries that are similar, and you know, those ideas are just searching for just, you know, the basic stuff, not the truly disruptive ideas.
You know, Will, in my book, I make the statement that, you know, I went through the 24 months of research, and I went through the pain. I love the pain, but the pain of writing that book because not because I'm concerned about distributors next quarter or next year. We've got that down, right? We're continually tweaking and making the incremental changes, to ensure that the business, makes its numbers next year and the like. I wrote that book because I'm concerned looking at this age of disruption about 3, 5, 10 years from now, and I think it's critical, as you talk about, injecting these new ideas, thinking about the business different, trying to get our hands around this disruptive change that's impacting the world and our business today and how it's going to impact our business. I think it's critical that we start thinking that way out, if you don't mind.
Yeah, and I think it's really difficult. It can be very difficult in our industries to just take these sort of big disruptive ideas and figure out how to distill them down and make them applicable to our businesses.
Great.
So much of the writing.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go. Sorry.
Well, just so much of the writing is about the disruptive things happening in Silicon Valley that really,
right,
frankly, don't seem to have anything to do with any of our customers.
Yeah. So I know that you had I call it an aha moment about 2 years ago when you were looking at one business as your role model, and you had an aha moment and said, wait, we've got to completely 180 degrees change our thinking. Can you just share that story with us?
Yeah, I did. Our management team attended Dirk's first Unleashed conference, and for the years leading up to that aha moment, there's an engine parts distribution company that's near us and sort of a competitor, but not a direct competitor. But they're in the lawn and garden business, and we. Ever since I've been in the business, I've looked at that business and said, man, that would be, having arrived. Being that business is what would be arriving. They've got a great brand. They've got long relationships with their customers. They've probably got 6 to 8 turns a year in their inventory. I happen to know that their, blended gross margins are north of 30%. They've just got some great, we just look at it in terms of what they're able to do.
Looks good to me, Will. Let's become them, right?
It does. It sounds fantastic,
yeah.
And I think we have spent many hours thinking about how to be them, how to turn our business. They're the target.
Makes
and
sense.
when I was listening to Bill Taylor from Fast Company talking about disruptive change and innovation at the conference, and he was describing sort of what's happening and where value is being created and where value is just is not being created, where people are just doing things because structurally they get to, and how consumers are turning all of that on its head. I started thinking about that business, and I realized that what I thought I wanted our business to be was totally backwards, and that was going to be the first business to get slaughtered. That business that had nice thick margins, manageable inventory, good turns, those kinds of things, that was the first person Amazon was going to take. Because the essence of how they create value is very easy to repeat, and there's a good return for doing it. And so their basic
model. Will, can I jump in? Their model, if I'm hearing you right, kind of trumps this other dealer. Is that right?
It does. So what they've got is their logistics and their basic stuff like that. And so we begin to question, wait a minute, that's not what we want to be when we grow up, because that's the first one that's going to fall.
You bet. I think it's just brilliant, the thought process that you guys have been going through. Again, as I said earlier, I sent out some tweets and say, why change? And a gentleman by the name of Jay Rogers, who's the CEO of a brilliant business called Local Motors, guys, they crowdsource the design of automobiles, and then they mass customize these cars. It's a brilliant business. Whoever designs their cars, they haven't even met the designer of one of their cars because it's all done online around the world. He's going to be one of our keynote speakers this October. But he tweeted back to me. He said, Dirk, why change? It's only when we shift can we gain perspective to see the difference between where we are and where we might be. Then we should choose one of those. And I think about what he tweeted to me yesterday, Will, and that aha moment that you went through and said, you know what? We got to gain perspective as to where we're at and what the options are and what we think is the right one. And that allowed you to rethink the business.
It does. And the other great thing was it made us stop saying we want to be that guy when we grow up, and it made us just start saying who do we genuinely want to be, and who can we be because of the DNA that we have as a business.
I love it. And Will, if you don't mind, you know, one of the things you taught me as we were preparing for our conversation today was in that whole thought process, I captured one of the things you said to me on the phone in the last 2 days. You know, in this process of rethinking the business, you asked yourself, and I think all distributors need to ask this. I wish you would have given this to me in time to get in the book. It's not even in the book. You asked, does your value proposition create value, or are you just participating in the value chain? What do you mean by that, Will? I think it's brilliant. Can you just elaborate on that for just a minute?
Absolutely. I think, you know, I think if you go back to the example of who we thought we wanted to be when we grow up, and
yeah.
You know, that was exactly what this looked like. The pieces of the value chain were established. They were mature. The business is doing all the right things. I mean, they've got the right inventory in the right location, charging the right price to the customer with the right service level. But there's no innovation in it. There's no creation in it. There's no they're not disrupting themselves to figure out, okay, how do we do this better, and how do we bring something new to this consumer that's now in charge that they've never seen before. And that's kind of what I mean by that idea of just, you know, if what you're doing, in my opinion, if what you're doing is you're putting inventory in the right location, well, Amazon can do that better than us now. You know, they're going to win that battle. And if what you're doing is an e-commerce experience, you know, we've got some great people here, but we don't have programmers like a lot of other companies do. So, you know, where are we using our special sauce to create value for our customers as opposed to just?
Will, absolutely. I do. I think it's a brilliant, brilliant concept, and it reminds me of another phenomenal distributor out in San Jose, California, by the name of Valen Corporation. Valen Corporation, you'll see some stats up there on the screen. In the early 2000s, 87% of their business was in the semiconductor business, and man, they were riding a wave, a real good, nice wave. And then all of a sudden, the dot-com crash occurred, and then right after that, 9/11 happened, and they went from a $75 million business to a $25 million business in 120 days. Now, if there's going to be a sense of urgency to re-examine your business model, right, Will, and asking the question that you asked, here, let me go back to that. You know, are we just participating in the value chain, or are we really creating value? These types of things will cause an organization like Valen to say, what do we need to do to create value? They were just featured on Discovery Channel's Innovations show with Ed Begley Jr. And their story is really pretty phenomenal. Over the last several years, their CEO, their leader, just a phenomenal leader by the name of Joe Nettemeyer, has led that business on a growth curve going from that $25 million to $150 million. And what they concluded, just as I think you were alluding to, Will, is that they concluded that the traditional box in, box out doesn't deliver the value that it once did. And in fact, just having a Me Too value-added service, you know, that every other distributor has, doesn't create the value. And they found themselves, I don't think they used the words, but they found themselves, I'll use your words, participating in the value chain rather than creating that value. So they had to truly, Joe Nettemeyer has been leading this change, this innovation, this transformation. And they began, and what's happening is they're in the process of transforming their business to a hybrid business model so that they can create business by becoming this single source solution center. And they're finding ways to create new streams. And there's your word, right? Create new streams of revenue. So I hope everybody on the call, writes this quote down from you, Will, because I think it's brilliant, and I think it really sets the foundation of what do we need to be thinking about as we live in this age of disruption.
Hey, Dirk, this is Mike. Dirk, this is Mike. Maybe a question for you and Will. In listening to all of this is, you're obviously talking about out-Amazoning Amazon. And, most distributors have, thousands of products that they have. Would a recommendation be to focus this change more into limited products, as opposed to trying to sell everything that they have? Would you concentrate on certain products, certain lines? And then the other question is, what role do the manufacturers play in this? Because it seems to me if you want to provide value and information on products, features, benefits, that type of thing, you're going to have to rely heavily on your manufacturer suppliers to play a role in this, wouldn't you?
Yeah, so without question. Will, do you mind if I go first, Will?
Please.
Yeah, and then Mike, hey, thank you for the question. First, I disagree with your premise, if you don't mind, Mike. I don't think we can or should try to out-Amazon Amazon. And if that's what was coming across, I didn't communicate very well. I don't think we are going to be successful, nor should we try to out-Amazon Amazon. To your point about fewer products, I'm not going to go that far, but I actually went to, some of us on the phone will recall Tom Peters, right, of In Search of Excellence. And as we've been thinking this through for the research, I went to him and I asked him the same question. My God, Forbes is writing about the Amazon wholesale slaughter. What are we going to do? And he said, Dirk, this is a very tough question. He says, but if I have one suggestion, it's to pick a niche, and become great at that. Said another way, I think what we need to do to compete in this new age is we need to stand for something. Pick something, whatever that is. If it's expertise, if it's service, you're going to have to define those things better, and we've got examples for you coming up here. But we have to stand for something. When that marketplace looks at you and sees that you are just one of many, all right, that's when we are at risk of being disrupted. The middle of the road is the road to nowhere. Let's find that niche where we can excel. That unmet need. Every one of the market segments we call on, industrial accounts, contractors, every one of them have unmet needs. And it's going to require that we get closer to our customers, Mike. And I think that's what the model outlined in our book, The Innovative Distributor, helps us do. And we'll talk about this model a little bit. So number one, no. Let's not think about out-Amazoning Amazon. I don't think that's what we're suggesting. Second, I'll go real quick to the manufacturers. Yeah, I think with the age of digital disruption, yeah, manufacturers we need to find a way to collaborate better, deeper, harder with our manufacturers. And both ways, it goes both ways. Digital content, for example, is going to be, I think, a critical part going forward, and we're going to need help from manufacturers. So those are some of my initial thoughts. Will, anything to add or disagree with that I just said?
No, I mean, I think we want to look at it a lot the same way, and in the sense that we've just said if we're doing battle with Amazon over a commoditized item, we're going to lose. We're not going to fight with them over spark plugs. We're not going to fight with them over price point trimmer line. They don't actually have to make money, amazingly enough, and they still get more investment. So we have a sort of mandate for some version of profitability around here, and they don't yet. So we would never want to take them. We don't want to be in a position where we're taking them head on. I think that the way that we look at it is our competitive advantage to Amazon is our proximity to our customers, our B2B customers.
Okay, so
yeah. we are in a position because of our relationship with them and the way that we serve them to know each of them uniquely and to begin to serve each one of them uniquely in the way that best drives their success. And that's not something that I see Amazon trying to do right now. I see them trying to have the best price on rubber gloves, but not necessarily understand their customers' use of rubber gloves and how they can make them more successful with them, and how they can get the right the right fit or whatever that might be. So I think that we really try to look at that proximity as the competitive advantage and that knowledge. And
Will, if I can jump in there, my interpretation of what you just said, I suggest that we need to stand for something. And what I heard you saying is that right now, Carswell is looking at this and saying, what do we stand for? We stand for being close to our customers in two ways. A, geographically, proximity, but maybe even more importantly, our desire and our commitment to understand you, your business, your challenges, your needs, your opportunities, why you would even need a rubber glove. And you're placing a bet right now, if I may, that is going to be a niche, if you will, that Amazon won't be able to, at least with everything, won't be able to, Amazon or others in your space isn't willing to do or able to do. Did I interpret that right?
Yeah, won't choose to do.
Or choose to do. Thank you. Love it. So, hey, Mike, is that okay? Any follow-up question there? Or?
No, that's good. It was perfect. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Hey, is this recorded? If somebody just said I gave a perfect answer, I want the world to know that.
It is recorded, but I control the recording.
Okay. You're going to edit that out on me, huh, Mike?
And by the way, folks, if you have any questions of Dirk, just go ahead and type them up.
Absolutely.
We'll read them to him. So.
Absolutely. Thanks. So, guys, I think, Mike, that really leads into, how do we drive this change? What's a model? Not the be-all and end-all, but what is a model that we might be able to get our hands around to drive this change and innovation that we hopefully have established is going to be required? What we found in the research for this book is that the innovative distributor is really going to be focused on at least 4 key components or levers for their business. They've got to have a vision and the right culture. They've got to have this magnetic value proposition. They've got to rethink their business model, and none of this happens without transformative leadership. So let's start with vision and culture. What I found and what I believe in talking to CEOs every day of my life is that vision and culture drives change and innovation. Now think about that. It sounds simplistic. It sounds like God, flag, and motherhood, but it's critically important. Vision and culture drive change and innovation. Guys, several months ago, I was having dinner with the owner of a distribution business, of an industrial distribution business. And we're sitting around having a beer and a glass of wine, and we're talking about this disruptive reality. And there was a pause in the conversation. And then almost underneath his breath, I'm not even sure he realized that he said this. He said to me across the table, he said, and Dirk, the sad thing is, I have no vision for the future. And I find that he's not the only leader of businesses that, because it's a foggy future. We have so much coming at us. And quite frankly, we're in a position, I believe, what I found, we're in a position that we have to rethink value propositions and business models. And you know what? Many of us didn't think we were going to have to do that. And so have we been trained in school how to do that? So developing that vision for the future really is critical. And Mike, you said it in the introduction that this is difficult because one of the reasons is because we're trapped in the tyranny of the urgent. Our businesses, it's a busy business. You've got contractors and industrial accounts calling you up every day. We've got to service them. We've got to, work with our manufacturers, and we've got to get the sales in, and we've got to get the orders out. All of that. It's a busy business, and we get caught in this tyranny of the urgent, and we find it troublesome to step away and say, let's look at where we need to take the business, because without a vision for the business, there really is going to be no change. If you think about it, if Apple was consumed by the production and manufacturing of the iPhone, there would be no iPad. If Walt Disney was consumed with simply drawing a better mouse, there'd be no Disneyland. If Grainger was consumed with improving the efficiencies of their will call desk, there'd be no e-commerce platform generating billions of dollars. So this tyranny of the urgent, we've got to step away from it. Make sense of this disruptive wheel of change and create a new vision. And Will, I know that this was an important step for you all at Carswell on your innovation journey, where you guys actually asked. You guys went through a lot of work, sweat, and you got around the table for several months, and you said, who do we generally want to be based on where the world, the business, our customers, the markets are going? Is that right?
It is, yeah. And what was interesting about it is that, again, unlike when I was sort of stuck in this thought process of we want to be that guy down the street.
Yeah.
When we started thinking about who we wanted to be, in a more self-reflective way, we realized that a lot of the things, the pieces of who we wanted to be and the culture that we wanted to have, they were here. They were in the sort of fabric of our company. They were in the history of our company. It was just a matter of pulling them out and identifying them so that we could focus better on them and so we could make them more self-perpetuating. When you actually deliberately say that this is what I'm doing, it's amazing how much more you do it than if you just kind of do it accidentally. So
I love it. Deliberately.
That was a really nice thing about the journey, was that it wasn't like we looked at our 65-year-old business with our fragmented marketplace and our great longevity of employees and said, we need to bring dogs to work and have a cafeteria and look like Silicon Valley. The business looks the same. We just have a little different vision for where we want to go.
You bet. And Will, one of my favorite sayings that I heard from a CEO several years ago, he said, decide what you want to be known for, and then work consistently to make that happen, right? And that's part of that vision. Decide what you want to be known for, not today. It goes back to, standing for something. The middle of the road, what do you want to stand for as an organization? For you, it's that proximity. For you, it's getting to know that customer. And then work consistently to make that happen. So let's go to the guiding ideas that you guys worked through. And can you just, talk to us about these guiding ideas you've developed to provide that focus and that vision, and then we'll talk about how that has led to some of the change and innovation that you're driving, Will.
Sure, absolutely. So we really went back to this idea of our customer base and our relationship with them, and how everything we did as a business was meant to be focused on their success, on making them make their businesses work, and that the way that we would do that is through the lens of having a trusting relationship and serving them and creating value for them. So we developed these ideas of values of trust, serve, and create, and we believe they were supported very well by these strategies of operational excellence and healthier dealers and being market-driven. And we use this in all the decisions that we make to say, is this decision that we're making, is it going to drive our customer success, and is it going to support one of these strategies and be consistent with these values?
So, Will, let me interrupt, because I don't want to lose that, because what I heard you just say is that you went through this exercise, you've developed these sets of guiding ideas, and if I heard you right, you said you use them for every decision that you make. This has become a management, a leadership tool that really is driving decisions, and I think at times is that powerful source that will stop you from being pulled back to the status quo. A, is that right? B, can you share a story of how it helped you escape that gravitational pull to the status quo?
Yeah, so in all honesty, we try to use these for everything.
Fully understand, man. Fully understand.
It's a good goal.
Yep.
And we're getting better at it. So that's good. And
you're committed to it. Absolutely. Yep.
We are committed to it. And so what that means is that, after we developed this and, we were really working, underneath our strategies, we put together some initiatives that we thought would help move the dial on getting us closer to being this business that we've outlined. And, we found along the way that we were having a lot of trouble achieving some of these initiatives because our technology, our legacy business platform was holding us back. Yep. It's a remarkably affordable system. It's great from a cost structure. It's, barely good enough today, and we have always sort of cherished it because when a drought hits, our business gets rough and it doesn't cost much. So, but we looked at it with a different lens when we started saying, all right, we have to achieve operational excellence so that our customers will trust us. And are we able to do that with this technology? And the answer is that no, we could not move the dial towards driving customer success. And so when we begin to evaluate other business systems, we used how they would help us in this way. And the great thing from an organizational standpoint is that because our company had a broad understanding of this idea, we didn't just go to them and say we're going to do a business system conversion because it's time. And they didn't say, oh man, we don't want to do that. That's going to be really painful. Could we just wait a little while? Yeah. Instead, there was a much greater sense of understanding and even excitement that conversion was what it was going to take to get us closer to achieving our purpose. And that was a real validation of this model of going through and really setting guiding ideas and sharing them across the organization.
Well, I really appreciate that, Will. I'm going to go back to the statement that I made here, that vision and culture drive change and innovation, right? Vision and culture drive change and innovation. Now, if we tie that to your guiding ideas, right? I see the words driving customer success. That's a vision. Operational excellence, that's a vision. Delivering a better future for our customers. Those aren't just words on paper. That's a vision that you're committed to, figuring out how to do it. It doesn't just happen, right? And it's that vision that drove new thinking and new conversations and hard decisions, in this case, with your technology platform. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you. So let's jump, for the interest of time and the like, over to the business model, right? A business model is defined as how you create, deliver, and capture value. So over here, you've got this vision that you want to drive customer success, that you want to deliver a better future for our customers. The question now becomes, how do we do that? How do we scale a business to actually create and then deliver and then capture that value? So I know you guys went through a thought process and you're doing some experimenting around business models to be able to make this vision of yours a reality. So would you mind just sharing some of the thoughts and the processes you guys have been going through around that business model experimentation?
Yeah, so I'm a real big believer in this idea of experimentation, and just using this sort of Amazon theme, I believe the quote went something like that this $8 billion bet in B2B is just an experiment, and it can succeed or fail, and it's not a big deal to Amazon.
Yep.
And so I think anytime there's somebody out there that can be having experiments like that, if we're not trying anything new, then we're in trouble. We certainly don't have the capital or the appetite for risk to take bets like that. We like to take really small bets and really.
You're not going to out Amazon.
Yeah,
no
really
way.
manage experiments, and so one of the things we our benefit from within our business is having a couple of sort of tangential business units that are much smaller and much more nimble, and we can test experiments within them and then bring them over to the core business when they're successful. So, for example, we can change a process within our system of the way that we invoice or the way that we transmit information to our customers, or even our shipping options for customers. I mean, on really basic ways we can do experiments that don't disrupt our core business and core functionality. And so that's kind of one benefit. And the other is, certainly from a marketing and merchandising and customer interaction standpoint, we really like to go out and work with our customers and learn from them and get ideas from them, and then try those ideas on just a simple scale of that one customer, or even several if it's been successful before we do any kind of major rollout, because it really allows us to search for new business models and new ways of working with our customers, while at the same time sort of quickly implementing and throwing out the bad ideas before we waste too much capital or time on.
Yeah, love it. Thank you. Will, I remember the couple of days where you guys put up on your conference room walls. You actually looked at your current business model, and you actually mapped it out. This is actually a picture of the thinking that you guys did to really think through hard your business model, and you asked yourselves, are we really differentiated here? And I think that was part of what led to the conversation to say, you know what, we need to find new ways to create and capture value. So that's driving a lot of that testing, that experimenting. You use the word skunk works that you've got going on just to try new things in limited ways in a controlled risk environment, and I think it's critical. Hey, we're running up on the clock, so just a couple of things here. The fourth component part of that model, I think, to help us really drive change is what I found through our research is what I call transformative leadership. And, it's the observation I made is this, is that companies don't change, people do, right? Companies don't innovate, people do, individuals do, leaders do. And it's simplistic at one level, but one of the most glaring observations I made through the research for that book, Innovate, is that it all comes down to a decision. It all comes down to a decision. At one point or another, you guys at Carswell had a decision to make. Do we get pulled back to the status quo? We love the cost structure of our current technology platform. Man, if we're going to invest differently, it's going to change our cost structure. It's going to change the way we do business. But a decision had to be made. And I like to think about that as saying value creation is not a check-the-box mentality. And leaders have the vision. They experiment with these business models to drive new value propositions. But at the end of the day, decisions need to be made when the outcome is not always evident. And I know that you guys, your role of technology, that was part of the conversation that you guys had, I think, Will, that, we got to make this decision. We're going to be investing, big dollars for you in terms of new technology platform, and you don't even know if it's going to work.
It's true.
Is that right?
It was a lot easier to make that decision when we had said this is who we want to be when we grow up.
Right.
A lot harder to do it when you're looking across the street at your competitor and saying, do you think they're going to do this, or don't you think they're going to do this? Because you never know quite what they're going to do, and by the time they do it, it's could be too late. So
you bet. Love it, Will. Thank you so much. I think one other individual, a lot of you on the phone, or excuse me, on the call, the webinar, know Guy Lissette, who is with Deloitte Consulting, and he's the author of Facing the Forces of Change. And I asked him through Twitter yesterday also, you know, why change? And he sent me 2 parts. What he told me is the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. He quoted the fictional writer William Gibson there, and it's true, right? The future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. People are buying differently, maybe in your markets, maybe not, but somewhere they are, right? Employees want to be led differently. They want to stand for something, maybe not in your business, but somewhere, and it'll eventually catch up. And then he said distributors must challenge the past to create their future, and leveraging technology to accelerate the change will be essential. And Will, I just have so much respect for you individually and your entire management team, because you guys are thinking hard. You're looking at this disruptive reality. You're looking at the trends. You're understanding that there's this inherent inertia that's trying to hold you back from change, but you guys are fighting through it. And thank you for being a friend. Thank you for allowing me to learn from you, and thank you for being on this call, Will. I really appreciate it, bud.
Thanks, Dirk.
Yeah.
Hey, and on behalf of ASA, you guys, we really appreciate this presentation. It was excellent. Will, it was great meeting you. Anytime you want to get into our business, let us know. We'll try to hook you up with a good business to buy.
Mike,
so again, yeah.
Just before you wrap it up, can I just get one more thing? Do you mind?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Just real quick, because I'd like to leave everybody with a call to action, if you don't mind, okay? You know, hopefully through this conversation, you guys have seen this innovative distributor model to get you thinking. One of the business leaders that I have so much respect for is a gentleman by the name of Andrew Berlin. He leads Berlin Packaging here in Chicago, a hybrid packaging distributor. And I asked him why change, and I loved what he sent to me this morning. He said, the beaver, bee, and ant have been building homes the same way for millions of years. The human has been evolving every year. Don't fight the DNA. Be better. I mean, I just love that thought process from Andrew. And so here's maybe something that you all can do with the conversation that we had today. I call this, you can do this assignment. Change, transformation, innovation, we all, everybody, every one of your ASA members, Mike, it's within our capabilities. So one of the things that you might do is you might put this quote on the wall that I heard from Dan Blaylock, CEO of Adams Birch. He said, with all the disruptive and constant pressure from all directions, how do we create a sustainable and a relevant business? You guys take that quote and put it on your conference room wall, and then lead a brainstorming conversation about all the potential disruptions over the next 3 to 5 years. And then if you need to, start with the following categories. What are the geopolitical, the demographic, technology, government, competitive, the others. And start looking at what are the potential disruptive forces in your business. Doesn't mean that they're going to come to pass, but it will drive a whole nother line of thinking. And then just one more, Mike, and I'll turn it over to you. I got this from Will, and I really appreciate this. You sent this to me this morning because you've been thinking about this all day. He says another thing that we could do, guys, after this call is ask your team to think about your customers and brainstorm the possible business and service models that they might demand in the next few years. For example, will they want video chat for job site diagnostic or repair identification? Or will they want, vendor anticipated inventory? Put those things up on the wall. And then what we just learned from Will, go ahead and start to experiment. Don't make a huge investment. Make a smaller investment with select customers. And if you can't do some of these experiments, drill down and identify what's preventing you from doing that. So with that, Mike, I'll turn it back over to you, and I really appreciate it. And I do look forward to seeing everybody in Vegas.
Great stuff, you guys. Thank you. Again, yeah, Dirk will be doing a general session and a workshop, so you'll have first-hand opportunity to meet Dirk and talk more about this. Also, Unleash WD will be in Chicago October 29th and 30th, and that's a 2-day intense program of speakers and thought ideas, and we were there last year as staff. great event, so consider doing that. Again, this session was recorded, so if there's something you missed, you zoned out, whatever, within the next couple of days, you can access it through My ASA, so you can log on to your My ASA account and do a replay. So again, gentlemen, thank you very much, and see everyone in Vegas. Thank you.
Thank you all.